Oh man, Rich Paul. I don't need no college. Rich Paul, my goodness. He was on Gil's show, and boy, oh boy, oh boy, fair use, y'all. This is fair use act. Uh, we will tell you what Rich said. If you care to watch it, it's on his Underdog Fantasy show. Oh my goodness, Rich Paul. He first of all points out the fact that Stephen A. Smith is a liar. We already know that. Saying he was full of cap with everything he said. I knew he wouldn't talk to Rich Paul like that or anybody like that. He's not. He don't have the balls, especially to anybody who has said power and stuff like that in position. He wouldn't talk about nobody like that. So to say that live on TV, guarantee you, if he saw Rich Paul face to face, he's not gonna say anything of the sort of any of the things. He gonna say, "Oh, my bad," I was on the show tripping, but he ain't gonna do it live on TV, which makes it phony. So I applaud Rich Paul, for actually stating that. Now, Rich Paul is the founder and of the man that's negotiated a lot of deals for Clutch Sports. He's LeBron James' best friend. Leon Rose is who he shadowed to learn the business from, who represented LeBron James. And, this is basically his introduction, basically the longest interview I've ever heard from him. In actuality, to be serious, this is like one of the longest interviews I've probably seen him ever do. And now I see why they don't want him to speak that much. If the more you listen to Rich Paul, and the more and more he sounds like a hustler than a actual businessman. Cause I'm sitting here saying to myself, who would do business with this guy? Seriously, not because I don't like LeBron, people. Seriously. Because if you listen to Rich Paul and listen to him actually speak, you'll see that he lacks the vernacular of anyone. He doesn't have any business acumen amongst himself at all. You don't hear him say anything of interest. Nothing's important. It's all just rhetoric. He talks like my guy in the barbershop. You know what I mean, son? He's like, are you kidding? This is the guy that's negotiating multi-million-dollar deals for all these players' lives, getting them guaranteed money. I mean, if I heard this guy come to represent me, I wouldn't let this guy go get me a cup of coffee. I'm like, I don't trust this guy. It's because he's not talking the business lingo. He sounds just like a hustler. So this guy has a high school graduation, high school equivalent, no college. Um, and then on top of it, he has basically a sixth grade, seventh grade vocabulary. And I'm just like, that's cool and dandy. I'm not saying that you got to talk like, hey, you got to be proper and use big words. I'm just saying, as when it comes to business, he does not seem bright when giving advice and talking to people about deals and how they structured. I'm not hearing the genius. I'm not hearing the wisdom. I'm hearing some basic quotes from some people that other people told him that was smart. And I'm just like, man, this dude is it's like such a hack. It's like it's almost sad. When you look at it, it's like really sad. Because it's like, how did they pull off this hustle? How did they get everybody to believe in this? I could see right through this. Go watch any other agent do an interview, and you come back and listen to Rich Paul and see if this is the person that you would have represent you. I've heard agents' pitches, and I've heard agents relate to their clients, but they also know the business lingo. You also believe hey, this agent can sit down and negotiate a deal. I mean, the way Rich Paul talk, I feel better representing myself. I said, well, he sound like me. He finna come in there, you know what I'm saying? He's sitting at the he's sitting there doing an interview. And by the way, this is the worst interview I probably have ever seen, ever conducted. It is. This is not even an interview. This is one man talking and everybody going, yeah, okay. Nobody's saying a word. There's no pushback. There's no real questions. There's nothing. It's like, what is this even about? It's so bland and dry. It's like a thing of potato chips that they keep trying to sell. Some of them damn ruffles. I have tried to get people to understand and believe what was going on. I mean, people know. There's people that know what the business is, but they be like, man, you just be going so hard. I'm like, I really don't. I'm not going as hard as I could be. Oh, wait till the Patreon version. Because this is mild. Trust me, this is mild to what I'm finna do on the Patreon. Patreon's gonna be no mercy, and I won't back down. No. Well, you gotta understand, people always see things the way they want it to go. You know, Rich Paul to me proves how much he doesn't even know about the sport of basketball. The more he talks, the worse it becomes. I listened to the whole interview word for word, and I listened to this man give a description on why LeBron James was a GOAT. Nothing he said had anything to do with basketball. Not one thing. He considerably, over and over again, kept saying one word over and over again. He brought up money. He kept saying, you know what I'm saying, they both ghosts, but, you know, think about it. There was no internet. LeBron had to deal with the internet. Y'all keep talking about he lost something. Well, what about when he did this and when he got a cat out of the tree? Michael Jordan never got a cat out of the tree. It's like, what is happening here? What is really going on? Well, there's a lot of people that wish they could have the vernacular precision that most of these agents have, but they speak the business lingo. Rich Paul is somebody who shadowed smart people and followed them around to get information. And I'm not knocking his hustle, but it's letting me know that there's other people in the rooms that are really making these decisions. And Rich Paul is just there to implement and be the yes man because his homeboy put him on. Now, what does this say for the representation of these players? moving forward. Are they really getting the best representation, or are they getting what's best for LeBron? I'm not convinced that this is best for my clients or the person that I want to represent my client. And that's sad because he's a black man. I would love a black man who came from poverty, who was a hustler, who came up on his own, and trying to just do right. But don't be some blind, you know, basically I want to say this nicely, a jock holder, because this guy put you on, you got to say all these nice things about him. Oh, this guy put me here, so I got to say nice things about him. Oh, this guy did this and that, so I guess I got to say nice things about him. You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. Why we ain't doing that? Well, I'm not one that actually sitting there going, man, this guy was something else. Rich Paul is just all bad. And I just don't agree with anybody who's. I mean, I understand his position. His position is LeBron, LeBron, and then LeBron. Whatever LeBron wants, that's his top client. So if LeBron wants something, in his, infinite wisdom of doing things, it's beneficial to him to take care of LeBron first. But I won't do it to the point where I'm delusional. I can't sit there knowing something is wrong and I'm just gonna sit there and ignore it and just act like nothing. I just don't have that in me. I've never been one to say, like this is you wrong and all of these different things just because I don't agree with you. I'm not that person. I don't move in those strokes. I don't think that that's the right way to move. I feel that the best thing to do in these situations is to be honest. This man sat there and said LeBron James was the best for all these dumbass reasons. He had to be the GOAT because he had to deal with internet and where everybody's focused on his losses. Like, how hard is it to get there? You know what it takes. And I'm like, look, all I can tell you is Jordan got there 6 times and won 6 times. And if you talking about not counting failures, then what are we really talking about? So if it ain't about championships, it's about impact on the court and what he was able to produce. I can't recall a moment of impact LeBron James was doing that meant anything in the real world. Like I really don't. Probably 2012, 2007. Like individually, he'll have some moments, but when the game's on the line, I can't trust LeBron. Trust him to do what? Fold under pressure? Come on. We all know what time it is. So there is no. It's asinine. This dude has not matched one of Michael Jordan's best years. Not one. So this dude has. I mean, come on. If he could match an '86 year, has he ever had a team with all his super teams he had to have the most wins in a regular season? No. No regular seasons wins on all your teams. All the players you had, all the help he's had throughout his career, and he has a losing record. Failure is his reward. This is why I always say it's always important to remember the little things, but definitely the big things that matter. For some reason, people like to be fixated on a certain number of things that transpire when you see professional athletes. Professional athletes are supposed to have all the answers and everything that's included. Now, I'm not a genius, but I can pretty much gauge that Rich Paul has not been watching basketball his entire life. I don't think he understands the Michael Jordan era at all. I don't think he actually probably even remembers it. This man said, okay, LeBron's compared to Michael Jordan, but who was before Michael Jordan? Who was Michael Jordan compared to? As if he's never heard of Dr. J, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. Like they just gave everything to Michael Jordan, and he had no competition to be compared to anybody. I'm sorry, buddy, but you need to learn the game of basketball before you start having debates and conversations. And he was like, well, he's a sports agent. Well, that just means that's his title and job. Do you think every sports agent knows every detail about basketball? It don't work that way, so especially about the game when they weren't around watching it, they weren't really born. So it's not a lot of people's fault. It just is what it is. It's a lot of people in the game that's a bit messed up. They can't help it, man. They can't help themselves. This game was never designed for the weak. And that seems to be what you have is a lot of weak people now. So all these weak people making decisions. And I was like, that's soft. Where did all these soft people come from? Start making these claims and decisions about stuff. It's like y'all have no grounds for none of it. I just don't like this is what I mean by bad shows. This is a bad show. There's no pushback, there's no questions. Everybody's just bobbing their head like they just afraid to say anything wrong. And that's what's wrong here. That's what's wrong with this whole picture. It's like if you're gonna have the guy there, I understand letting the guy talk, but you don't have any real questions. You don't have any questions. You don't have any pushback. No devil's advocate. Nothing. It's just bland. I was like, this is just like we glad we got Rich Paul here. We're getting close to having LeBron here. Maybe if we keep on kissing his butt, something's gonna happen for us. It's sad. It's really sad. It's sad that you got people like, that's gonna listen to this Rich Paul interview and think, oh my God, Rich Paul, he's got it all figured out. Oh man, I wish I had Rich Paul representing me. I wouldn't want that guy near me as far I don't trust him as far as I could boot him. Right? He looks nefarious. Can't trust him. What's funny to me is that all these people claim they want one thing. I want equality. I want a better relationship with people. I want better, they don't want to go to school to learn to represent themselves. Did you know that we knew the law better than lawyers back in the 60s and 70s? We knew the law. So we did our homework. So if the lawyer was representing us, we did a little studying too. So I'm not saying Rich Paul got to have an Ivy League education to do these things, but you should at least sound like you know the business. You should sound like you know what you're talking about. You shouldn't sound like a hoodlum off the streets, that's just trying to run a scam. You should sound like you at least know the business. And if you listen to the interview and you could clearly hear Rich Paul talk, now you know why he don't do too many interviews because he doesn't sound like he knows what the hell he's talking about at all. Now, a lot of people gonna say, "Oh, well, see, no, you don't have a Ivy League education either. You don't speak like you know the lingo." If I'm speaking about something that's pertaining to my job or my field, I guarantee you I speak better than Rich Paul and more knowledgeable. I guarantee it. I would take the Pepsi challenge with that any day of the week. If Rich Paul had to pitch a kid that he's getting ready to try to make his client versus all these other potential agents, I guarantee the other agents will blow him out the door. No one spoke about Rich's pitch. Oh man, his pitch was so amazing. I thought like it's best for me to go with him. No, this must have been something else in particular that just so happened to be so convenient that the person couldn't resist. Yeah, I've seen this show before. But you're representing young, mostly young African American men. This is why they were trying to use the racism card because they was nobody wants to sign up with us because I'm black. No, it's just that white people seem, especially white Europeans, a lot of them have a lot of knowledge when it comes to these situations, and what they're seeing is like they're not really getting a bang for their buck. And no, they don't trust you enough. Well, some of them might say because you're black. You might get that. That is not alien to that conversation. The rest of the group, they're not alien to it whatsoever. But to say that's the because only reason, then you'll be lying to yourself. The key factor that people need to remember and understand is that no one's out to get them. You know, the Rich Paul situation is what it is because of what they're connected to and what it's connected to. It's connected to a lie. It's connected to a reason, a deception, a con almost. I don't believe it. They can like say, hey, no, man, it's 100% genuine. That man really cares. I'm going to look him in the eye and say, you know what? You might be right. But here's my answer. I don't believe it because I'm looking at this person and I see him as a hustler. His vernacular, his decision making, the way he speaks sends me to chills of a short arm salesman. You know, he's just looking for a hustle. And now he's got the greatest ultimate hustle. And everybody's okay in all this. You know, and you're playing with other athletes' lives. These kids are young. All they know is LeBron and what they tell them on social media. So they believe LeBron is really good and he's a good person. He cares about them. He loves the people. And, you know, a lot of this nonsense that they enslave people's minds with. Right. They keep you under their thumb and you'll never get from up under. Shouts out to Kwame Brown Bust Life. I mean, I don't know. I mean, look, Rich Paul could be doing better for everybody than any other agent in the game. I'm just saying, me, I wouldn't trust him. He does not seem like somebody that I could trust. He seems shifty. And I wouldn't want to be around somebody that's shifty or sounds like they could be shifty. You know, that doesn't benefit me, not one bit. People are so blinded by stardom. I don't know what it is. If they love it, star power fuels them. So it's all about whatever he said was right, no matter what. Like that time I said, I'm praying for Bronny. Everybody almost had a baby. Oh my God, you're not going to pray for LeBron? I'll be like, look, LeBron is not in he's not in danger right now. His health is going to be all right. Bronny's health is the one you got to pray for. Not everything's about that dude. They were so fixated on LeBron, they forgot why they were supposed to be concerned in the first place, which was for Bron. Everything's about LeBron. Well, they got what they looked. That was probably the biggest person they had on their show. 'Cause nobody else is going to do anything really like that as far as numbers. But mm-mm-mm. Man, I'm just tired. All this nonsense. It's just so unnecessary. Right. If I had to represent somebody, I definitely would know the lingo. I would speak the lingo. If I had clients I was representing, I'm going to know how to represent them in the way, best way possible and forward. I'm not going to memorize quotes that don't mean anything, but, to try to make myself seem smart in a moment, then that fades away with the next 20 words I'd say out of my mouth. I never really had the concerns that a lot of people had. Oh yeah, Dion was great. I was trying to do, how they do those. Trying to think, what was the name of that show? Everybody make those predictions, but then Dion was making the rounds and everything else, and they act like they won the whole cup in one game. A lot of people had them going like one win for the whole season. I mean, I don't think they're beating Nebraska. I think it's going to be a close game though. High scoring shootout. So anyway, man, I'm out. Shouts out to Kwame Brown Bus Life. Kwame Brown Bus Life 2.0. Rich Paul, man, get an education, man. I'm out.